Hello there, I'm Begalius. Check it out. It's a game. It's indie. And I was going to do the theme tune just now, but I can't remember how it goes. But Indiana Jones. People are very excited about this game, really, really hyped up, because this is actually being picked up as the first Xbox system seller since, oh god, what was it, like Halo? Like freaking Halo 3 back in 2007. I haven't heard people use the term system seller in reference to Xbox in a very long time. So, big deal video game. People are saying that this is it machine games, I think, at their classic best. They've been made an awesome game. And that's good. It's good to see that, and I'm happy to see that. And did I have a fun time with it? Yes, definitely. However, I will say that potentially, in my opinion, maybe just a little smidge bit hyped up. And I want to get on the hype train, I really do, I want to talk about what an amazing game this is. And yeah, it's a revelation, and here, finally a chance to play Xbox, despite the fact that it's on PC as well. And well, honestly, I think it's making its way to the PS5 as well, so it's not a system seller at all. But yeah, I want to talk about what an amazing game this is, and I will, just maybe not to the extent that other people are. I think the only issue with this game is that it's kind of and it's not really the game's fault. The only limitations with this game come from the fact that it has to draw from its IP, and it does so tremendously well, to its own detriment. I mean, the very notion of an Indiana Jones game is kind of like, it seems like something you definitely want because it's puzzles, it's exploring, it's adventure. But then when you get to it, it's like, well, what does Indiana Jones really do? He's not infallible. He's not super powered. He's not really much of a fighter. The occasional clothesline here and there. And the occasional flick of the head to the camera, but aside from that, I mean, it's just Indiana Jones. He's a history teacher or lecturer or professor or whatever he wants to go by, and so that becomes the fact that they are keeping so true to that is both a good thing and, in my opinion, slightly detrimental, but it is ultimately a great experience. What this is a very classic video game approach. It's all single player. It's just a single player game, and it's an adventure from start to finish, which ultimately is what I want from a game. I love it when that's the case. And you go exploring and adventuring, and there's combat every now and then, and there's these big worlds that you want to get engrossed in. You want to be there, you want to take part, and that is great. Nothing better than a game that invites you to a place that you want to be invited to, and you have a great time while you're there, and I love that. The game is drop dead gorgeous. It is a beautiful game, and the art style itself is very good too. The presentation overall, I just think, is really good, and a cracking soundtrack to go along. I don't know if this was John Williams, who I believe did the original soundtracks, but if it's not, they're doing a tremendous John Williams impression, because it's a very good John Williams-esque soundtrack, and he's like the second greatest composer of all time in terms of movie soundtracks. I think Beethoven would have a word with Hans Zimmer from his grave. But yeah, it's an excellent soundtrack. The presentation overall of the cutscenes, brilliant, great mocap, good facial animations, a couple of iffy bits here and there, but it's a video game. What do you expect? It's not a movie. The game looks great. It looks fantastic. And the areas, the locations that you explore, all top notch, absolutely top notch. But the best part, and I've seen a lot of people say this, are the tombs. The tombs look fantastic. The presentation is great. They'll be like, you'll be engulfed in flames, or things will go off all around you, but not necessarily on you, which I think is good. It makes it feel like a real tomb that isn't just designed for you to be there, despite the fact that that's contextually kind of what it is. And I think that's really great. And everything down to even the crack of the whip when you use it, that whoosh. It's very movie-like, but I like that. I like the fact that they lean into that movie-like feel in terms of the sound effects. Troy Baker does an excellent job as Indy, although slightly subdued, I guess. He's doing an impression, he would have to. But the whole cast show up and, sound great. Oh my god, the bad guy, dude, fantastic voice acting and even better mocap. It's very exaggerated, but I like that. I like how exaggerated his mocap is. Looks fantastic. Really, really great. but I did mention that there are slight limitations. I will just say this. I wasn't overly plussed about the gameplay itself. There were things that I really like about the gameplay. I like how utility based it is, how sandbox it feels. I love I love any game where you can just walk around, pick up a loot and whack someone over the face with it to get past them. Like I said, I love the sound of the crack of the whip, the mallet. You can do this like charge attack where you boom, and you hit someone over there with it and it destroys whatever weapon you're using, and it makes a very satisfying sound and a great effect with each one. So that's really good. That aspect of the gameplay I love. I like the sandbox-esque gameplay where you're just like thrown into this area and just like beat dudes up, or you figure out how to get around them. You figure that way out. And I think for a lot of people that's enough, and that's enough for people to really like and appreciate the game. But I just think that there are a couple of things that are missing, and it feels intentional that they were, but it kind of is to the detriment of the game, in my opinion, at least. For example, there's no finishes. There's no, like, as far as I can tell, finishing moves. And when you do attack someone, even if you do the charge attack when holding a weapon, it's going to take a few hits, particularly if you punch them. So you're going to have to get into a fist fight, but the game is at times mandatory stealth. And I don't mean that they, knock you out of the game, which I appreciate that they don't do that, but it's just a sense of like, you're not going to get past this unless you use stealth. You are going to have to use stealth to get past this, but you can't just take people out if you're, approaching from behind and nice. If you're approaching from behind and you like hold down, whatever button, you can't do that. That's not, you're not able to do that in this game. And even when you do a charged attack, if it is going to hit them out, knock them out in one hit, he makes this sound, which again, like, is cool, but really annoying when you're just trying to get past an area where he goes, "Argh!" And then that does alert the guards. It does alert the guards, and then they come running, and they have guns, and you don't have guns because whatever reason you don't carry guns. Although you do have your whip, which in a very cool way you can knock their weapon out of their hands, and that's very cool. But in terms of the combat, it does get a little bit exhausting, and I will say, this is just on me. This is a unique thing. Did we need another stealth game? Did we need another frickin' stealth game with a camera where you can mark enemies and they have to... When I was playing this, I just wrapped up the Black Ops 6 campaign, and genuinely, I was just getting deja vu. Every game is a stealth game. Can we just have an action-adventure game for once, please? And at times it does feel like an action-adventure game, which is great. And it is at its best when it leans into its sort of adventure-y, side of things. But sometimes the combat can be a bit frustrating. You can pick up weapons, but at times just don't even bother. You get one mag. He doesn't switch mags, which again is realistic and works for Indiana Jones. But, in terms of a video game, it can just be kind of frustrating. But that is really the big complaint that I have with the game. Everything else is great. Like I said, the sense of adventure and wonder is fantastic. Mostly in part of the fact that the presentation is so fantastic. The visuals are so brilliant. The audio is excellent. And the story is really great. I enjoyed the story from start to finish. It is a really... And it's rare that I get to say that about games at the moment. It feels like every game is like open-ended or, just scratches the surface in terms of story. But no, they nailed it. The story is really great. The antagonist is genuinely creepy and scary and screwed up, and you dislike him, but in a way that's like, oh dude, this guy's a freak. And it's really good. Excellent storytelling and great presentation in terms of that storytelling. So as an experience, as a cinematic experience, it's what you want. And I think if you're a huge Indiana Jones fan, this is exactly what you want. You get to essentially live out an Indiana Jones script, and you get to control what happens. And like I said, if you're a huge Indiana Jones fan, that's what you want. I wouldn't say that I am in particular. So for me, it was just a great adventure and a great story with lacking gameplay. So for me, this is the story, the score that I would give it. And I know it might annoy some other people, but I think that's a very fair score. for this game, and it's a good score. It is a good game, and it's definitely a game that I would recommend downloading on Game Pass. I also think that it's deeper than I give it credit for, and if you want to spend some extra time getting into the nooks and crannies and doing little side adventures and stuff, I'm sure there's more going on than what I experienced. But I'm someone who, when I review games, I review it as a sort of one and done experience, and because that's how a lot of people play games, myself included. But I'm sure there's a lot more depth there, and it was a great cinematic experience. So I would definitely recommend it, but just maybe spend a little extra time to experience that depth if you want more out of the game. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. It's good to be reviewing again, and I'll see everyone later.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.